But trust me, this is a very, very important topic. I think everybody here in the room need to understand. Before I start, I want to understand how many of you have worked with female athletes? Alright, most of the female, and I see very few number of male actually working with them. Any idea about what red S means? Anybody has a clue about it? What is a red S? Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay, great. So, anything else that you could tell us regarding that?
It's basically energy deficiency leads to multiple systems getting affected.
True.
The menstrual system, the bones getting affected, the GI system getting affected.
Correct.
And there's a way to evaluate it, and the main strategy and management being a multi-modal approach of approaching it with all the faculties.
True.
From
Perfect.
physician to psychologist to nutritionist.
True. Thanks. I think she's almost covered every slide what we're going to talk about. She said that it is something which is related to bone density, menstrual cycle. Also, how is it linked to performance is what we're going to very quickly see now. So, what is energy? We all know that whatever we consume, that's been converted, and that is how a body uses the energy. So, what is energy availability, and why are we talking about this? So, this is something which it's the energy intake minus the exercise induced energy, which is then divided by the fat free mass. So, in short, that whatever energy is available in the body after a physical exertion is what we are talking about, the energy availability. So, what is this going to do to us? It is going to help us in performing the rest of the physical activities or the metabolic constraints, whichever is going to happen in the human body, right. So, there is a limit to it. How do you say it is at optimal range? So, anything which is around 40 to 45 kilocalories per kg of fat free mass is something which we rate as optimal energy. Alright, we are going to see about this optimal and low energy availability in the next slides. Also, anything which is less than or equals to 30 calories per kg of fat free mass is going to term as low energy availability. Now, what are the contributing factors? What is going to contribute to this low energy availability? So, what we have seen here is there are three ways. So, something which is unintentional, here we are going to talk about the high volume of exercises or induced exercises or excessive exercises. This is something is not intentional, the athlete does not want to do it intentionally, but because it is a sport and every sport demands high exertion, physical exertion, this is something an athlete goes through it. So, this is something which is unintentionally where we are going to where this factor can contribute to the low energy availability, right. And then comes the misguided but intentional. Nowadays, every athlete wants to be fit, every athlete wants to have a lean body mass, every athlete wants to look athletic, correct. I think we've n number of times heard or seen athletes following their own personal diets, watching any social media or taking any kind of an advice. But then, is it something which is very appropriate or right way to handle the athlete's body? So, this is something which we are going to term it as misguided but intentional. The athlete knows that he wants to be fit, but then he does not have any clarity about how that is going to affect the performance. Also, compulsive behavior. This is seen in most of the athletes, also especially in those sports where weight is being coming into categorized, correct. So, this is something like called clinical disorders, where athlete is worried that consuming food may make her look plumpy or look fatter, maybe she'll start looking out of athletic performance stuff. So, this is what we basically talking about, the contributing factors. Now, we will see how is it going to affect the performance. So, but obvious, when the energy availability is low, the athlete is prone to more musculoskeletal injuries. That means to say there is a lot of time lost from the sport. So, decrements in performance, that goes with the musculoskeletal injuries, there is no energy availability happening, there is a lot of symptoms that happens when you have deficiency of energy. Also, the increase of cortisol levels, coordination and concentration. I want you all to have a little more focus on the red marked words, the bone density, also the menstrual dysfunction. So, again, increased susceptibility to illness, reduced anabolic hormones, reduction in fat and lean body mass. Also, there is a negative impact on protein synthesis and development and growth. So this is what we are talking. When there is optimal energy available in a female athlete's body, the athlete will have a normal menstruation. Okay, also the optimal bone health is being maintained. So what happens when the low energy availability comes in play with what all we have been discussed in the last slides, intentionally, unintentionally? That's where the athlete will prone to having lot of premenstrual symptoms. Maybe the athlete will miss periods and will not have a regular menstrual cycle. Also that may lead to a lesser bone mineral density, which leads to osteoporosis. So how many of us here in this room, all the females, have undergone all the premenstrual symptoms? How many of you? Cramps, back pain, feeling fatigue, mood swings, water retention, tenderness. All of us, I think most of female athletes out of 100, maybe I would say around 60 to 70% of them will definitely have those symptoms which we are going to see. Before we start that, this is what we are going to talk about. As we already discussed, as there is energy deficiency, it is definitely going to hamper the menstrual cycle, that is linked to the bone, and also energy deficiency. So this is something what we are talking about, the female triad. This also happens in male, but then the more focus is towards the female, so we are going to keep it a little more prompt to it. Yeah. So as you all said, there are very few people who's worked with female athletes, right? So we all have worked with, we are working with the female athletes. How many of you all have male coaches in the team? Yeah, we all have male faculty for sure. We are been working with them, correct? So how many times have you discussed with the male faculty about this? What happens during a pre-menstruation, or what happens during periods, or when an athlete comes to you, let's keep it very practical. Athlete comes to you and she complains that she's having a cramp or something and she's due for a date, correct? What was our responsibility in it? How did we educate? I'm just, just putting a torch around those thoughts. We don't have so much of time for interaction, but I would love if any of you can answer it. But I think that is where somewhere we all come in play, and we have to take a step forward and make sure that these little things are also being taken care of, because it is definitely going to help the athlete be ready for a performance when needed, right? So, and great if you really do it. If yes, then who all are a part of the discussion? It has to be your coach, your physiotherapist, SNC, sometimes even if the athlete is needed. Yeah? So, does it affect performance? How many of you think it does affect performance? Okay, lovely. I actually appreciate they saying it. So, yes, it does affect performance, all right. So, as I said, what are the perceptions? Because they said that, and I see most of you all actually still have those doubts, like, does it actually impact performance? We don't know, we're not too sure about it. It may not, right? Also, and what about the athlete's holistic health? Does it affect her? Maybe few people have a different perception, like it is a very common period, every month she undergoes it and it is fine, she must be used to it. Maybe. There may be perceptions of about her own symptoms as well, correct? And then social discussions. How many of you are comfortable discussing it with your support staff? And how much is the athlete actually comfortable discussing with us? I think this is something where we have to take initiative and reinforce and also promote awareness regarding this before an athlete is reaching the low energy availability, also the menstrual dysfunctions, which is going to first affect the overall health, and then that is directly linked to the performance, right? So also when we are around, when we being we all traveling with the team, it is our duty also to educate the athlete regarding the menstrual hygiene. That is very important. Also now that under 15 is being introduced in cricket, I am telling you, they are some real lovely bunch of players, lot of energy, this is the age where I think we need to take a step and actually start reinforcing and educate the athletes. They are far away from their homes, maybe that is the age where they are, they must have just got their periods or very new to everything and they are away from home. So that is where we all have to actually look into these things. So very quick brief about a menstrual cycle. So it usually lasts from 1 to 28 days. So there are 3 phases in it. So the day from 1 to 6 is menstruation being itself, and then comes the follicular phase, comes the ovulation and the luteal phase. So it is a complete cycle we are going to talk about, alright. If you see the blue marks there, the work capacity is lesser during the menstruation. That means to say the athlete's capacity to work or availability of energy, there are a lot of mood swings which happens, then the body is basically more fragile. Okay, so when that goes, also we see a lot of athletes with a lot of increased pain thresholds, correct. So they complain a lot of pains, like they have stomach cramps or back pains is what we are talking about. So once we finish the day 6, from day 7 to day 13 is what we are talking about, the follicular phase. So this is the phase where the athlete is having more work capacity and more strength. Can anyone say why in this phase? So if you see these hormones here, so we have the estrogen and progesterone, which are the more primary female sex hormones, correct. So during the follicular phase, that's where the estrogen starts spiking up. And if you see, the progesterone is still, this is the purple, the blue line down, so that's staying low and the estrogen being spiked up, and also the athlete is just finished her periods. That is where the work capacity and the strength outcomes are more higher comparative to any cycle in the whole menstrual 28 days. And then comes the ovulation. This is where from day 8 to day 14, this is where the egg is being released. So during this phase, okay, all the hormones are spiked. And if you see there, we can see a clear indication that ACL risk is higher during this phase of the menstrual cycle. So why are we talking about all this? We have to start, I am not saying we have to do it in a very regular basis, go have a discussion with the player all the time. You don't have to do it. Probably we can see how we can start monitoring it prior when an athlete is with us, also understand after that how the athlete is been moving, right? And then comes the luteal phase. So this is where the spike in the progesterone is more higher. So this is where the athlete is more fatigued, the energy levels of the athletes is more lesser comparative to the other phases also, and we spoke about definitely when you don't have enough energy, there will be a lot of mood swings which which hamper around. So yeah, so what are basically menstrual dysfunctions? How are we going to, how do we know that which is the one which needs more prior attention? So we'll just see the ones which need more prior attention. So no menstrual bleed for more than 3 cycles or more is something we need to address at the first point, also requires medical attention. This has to be addressed, correct? And then heavy periods, unusual pain, change in pain on some days of cycle, probably we can allow the athlete to do a lot of hydration, ask her or educate her to take iron rich foods, but still I think it still comes in red. It is necessary or mandate to have a consultation with the concerned specialist. So we already spoke about the premenstrual symptoms. This is something which an athlete starts feeling 3 to 4 days prior of her periods. So there's intense back pain, breast tenderness, vomiting, mood swings, reduced energy levels is what again we're talking. So we've had 3 in red. We had bone mineral density, we had reduced energy levels, correct? Now does all athletes feel the same? So we're saying that it will affect performance. These are the symptoms and this is how it hurts. But does all athletes feel the same? No. So I'll give you a scenario. There is an athlete who's had 3 periods in a year, okay, but has a bone mineral density which is optimal. At the same time, there's an athlete who's got 3 periods in a cycle in a year, but the bone mineral density is lower. So who do you think is more safer? Higher bone mineral density. But for me, according to me, I think both both are equal, because maybe the bone mineral density is not actually hiking up, but then there must be other symptoms because she just had minimum of 3 periods in a cycle, correct? So these are the female sex hormones we were talking about. So as I said, because of the estrogen being higher in the early follicular phases and the progesterone being higher in mid-luteal, that is in the end of the phases, it has been seen that there is a positive and negative relationship between force production. Okay. So basically athletes have performed well comparative to the mid-luteal phase, which is in the end of the menstrual cycle, in their counter momentum, 30-meter sprint and yo-yo intermediate test compared to this phase, alright. So now how do we handle it? Like we are saying that the energy levels are low, there will be a lot of symptoms an athlete shows, and there is a match, we are going to play a T20 match, there is a World Cup going on, the under 19 World Cup, or maybe tomorrow the seniors will play the World Cup. And how do we say? We can't ask the athlete, okay fine, maybe you are on you're close to your periods, maybe you are on day 1, shall we rest the athlete because the athlete is showing symptoms? Or shall we take a step back and also start screening the athlete from day 1 that athlete arrives at you? Have a record, understand how the athlete feels, have a questionnaire or a wellness questionnaire where you mention all these questions in it so that you understand, okay fine, you can vaguely have a chart where you have 15 athletes, what are the menstruation dates, what are the symptoms, maybe player A has symptoms, player B doesn't have it, maybe that player is very normal, like how she is every regular day, correct. Also you can use your off camps, like your off season camps, to encourage the athlete who's got those symptoms to do very light activities rather than stay indoors. This will allow us to get her also understand that, you know, if she has to play a tomorrow game, at least she is ready for her own skill levels to be performed, correct, agreed? So prevention of menstrual dysfunctions and redness, how can we do it? So these are the ways how we've been, me and Anand have been working, and Anand is actually working very closely with the senior team. So what we usually do is we take their blood profile, we do their DEXA. Also you can always ask the athlete to have or track through an online applications, right? And this is something we've been included in athlete monitoring applications and a questionnaire welfare. So these are basic few things which we monitor. If you have better ones, you can always use, but the whole point here is you need to profile an athlete's menstrual cycle. That is mandate, okay? So what do we do in athlete monitoring application is, so this is a player 1, player 2 and player 3, okay? So everything in yellow is the 3-4 days prior to their periods, and all the reds are when the athletes are in periods. So this is player 1, 2 and 3. So there is a questionnaire in the morning they have to fill, which includes their sleep, nutrition, their sleep, DOMS, soreness, urine color. In that we have also added the menstruation. This allows us to have a track of the athletes on daily basis. So we understand maybe the yellow, if she is showing a 7.5 hours of sleep, and then it is disturbed if you see in the later stages. So imagine an athlete is having a competition here, and we already took the symptoms 3-4 days prior. Can we help the athlete? Yes, we can help. Rather wait for the athlete to come and show us something which we don't want to see on her important match day. True? So on a very quick summary, what we want to sum it up as is, you have to educate the athlete about the food intake. Okay, how is the energy very important? Also, there is something which I wanted to add to this. How many, like anything more than 5 days, if you see such symptoms are happening, probably you can just have a quick review of the symptoms with the athlete first and understand what has been her history. Okay. Also, you can include in your wellness questionnaires about her, if the athlete has any kind of stress fractures or reactions when, you know, in past, any injury histories, also will probably give you a clear picture how to monitor, right? Thanks for your attention, and that's all. It was very quick, I had to do it.